Words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the podcast Heat, ad-free shows, and Wrestling According to Alba Networks. I'm John Alba. That's Matt Fact. That's not Matt Fiction. That's the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself.
That's me.
Doing a little RVD here.
Half RVD.
Matt Hardy. What's up, man? How's your week going? I know you're home. This is a big change for you lately. It must be nice.
I actually got 5 days at home. Crazy. 5 days at home. Back at the grind starting tomorrow on Thursday, but 5 days at home. It's the most time I've been at home in 4 weeks. 5 weeks, actually. 5 weeks. But over the course of the last month, I was here at the most, not even 48 hours. I ended up not being able to be here longer than 48 hours than 2 full days. So it was a pretty busy, pretty hectic time. Good time. It's being busy in the best way possible. Especially being at this advanced stage that myself and Jeff are at. We're very happy we are staying as busy as we are right now. So it's a wild time, but it's a good time.
Surely it was a stress-free time at home and everyone was conducive to one another and on their best behavior.
I can't even answer that seriously. I can't even answer it in a serious way. It was great getting home to see the children. Obviously, it was very stressful for some parties involved, but made the most out of it. I am so happy that there are FaceTime chats, FaceTime video. There is you can send videos back and forth, and I do that with the kids a lot. Maxwell has like a little watch that he can send me voice messages, and I send him voice messages back. So it's just nice to be able to communicate with them a little bit. I think about those guys that were going to Japan for weeks and weeks and weeks back in the day. I remember hearing stories from Road Warrior Hawk back in the day about how they would go and, not be able to talk to family members like for a month at a time, 5 weeks at a time, and like if they did, it was a payphone and it took all kinds of money or you had to have that card or whatever. Just Jesus Christ, communication is so much easier and we're so gifted to be blessed with that type of easy communication in 2025.
Yeah. Even think about those 10 days on, 4 days off trips you used to do and how much more difficult that would have been doing without the proper communication channels of having a family, I can't even imagine had you had the gaggle at that time, how difficult that would have been.
So yeah, especially if I was doing that schedule where it was 10 days on, 4 days off. I remember very vividly of using payphones. I remember when we would go to Europe in the beginning, having to get those cards so that I could call back home so we could check in with our dad and stuff. So, having my wife, Rebecca Hardy, and 4 kids, it would be very, very tricky to go back to those days and try and stay in touch with them as well as trying to stay married because it would be very challenging. I can tell you that.
You ever call collect back in the day?
Yeah. There were times we did call our dad collect at certain times when we had to, and he would accept it if he would hear from myself or Jeff. But we did. Yeah, I have done collect calls. I've definitely used payphones. It's crazy. I just remember the first cell phone that I ever saw. You'll never guess who it was from in my circle and my friends here.
Someone in the locker room?
No. I mean, this is before I made it to WWE.
First name Sham, last name Payne?
First name Sham, last name Payne, yes. he went and he spent a whole thing on the cell. It was like this big, it's like the things they use in a war.
Yeah, sure.
The military he was talking about. And I remember he had his card, he pulled it. I said, yeah, he said, oh, let me make a call. And he's out there flexing and he would call like, oh shit, he's got a cell phone. You know what I mean? I don't even think that's what he called it then.
Cellular phone.
Yeah, right. I do remember just when they came around, it became a regular thing. And towards the beginning, we got them earlier on once we started on the road. But I do remember first going on the road without a cell phone.
If you're under the age of 25 and listening to this podcast and you can tell us what call and collect means, tweet at us at Matt Hardy Pod.
Yes, please do.
We'll give you a shout out without looking it up. Try not to look it up. And I remember 1-800-COLLECT used to be an old SmackDown sponsor, or Stacker 2.
Right.
All those fat burners that probably resulted in long-term side effects at some point. Those are all slapped over WWE television. Chef Boyardee was a big one back in the day there. I remember Mick Foley had his big Chef Boyardee ads. You guys were part of one too, right?
Yeah, we did a couple Chef Boyardee commercials. Yeah, there was a Hardy Boy specific one, and there was a Team Extreme one too.
You're like,
so we did a couple of those.
Man, this is better than the tiger's milk our dad was feeding us back when we were 12 years old.
Yeah, and I'll never forget whenever we were doing it. I mean, obviously, whenever we would eat it, it was cold product. We were in the snow when we were doing it, and they said, "Oh yes, it's all cold. Just like eat it and just make it seem like you really like it a lot. And then when you're done, like just spit it out. Dump it, and we'll get it. Just spit it over here." They had a place where you could spit the Chef Boyardee out. It was wild, man.
Man, killing the kayfabe here on the commercials. Look at you.
Well, hey, we're in 2025. Kayfabe's pretty much dead. And
killing the business, bro. Killing the business.
The internet hurt kayfabe a lot. It put a big dent into it.
We have an episode this week that has been widely requested for a long time, and I'm very excited because we are this week on the anniversary, which would be the 22-year anniversary of you facing Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. And we're going to watch that match. We're going to talk about that match. We're not going to talk about the SmackDown that you headlined, because that will be another episode at some point, but we will talk about this WrestleMania match. It is a long time coming, and I'm very excited to get into that. There was some pretty newsworthy stuff that happened this week, though, in the wrestling world, especially in the world of TNA. Gail Kim was among several departures within TNA that kind of rocked the wrestling world this week. Gail Kim, long-time TNA mainstay, was serving as a producer. The Gothic Baby even knows who she is. I mean, everyone knows who Gail Kim is. What do you make of the big news of some of these departures?
The Gail Kim departure was definitely shocking. Very unexpected. I don't think you could have asked anyone if that was on their list of someone that would be released. I don't think anybody thought that would have been a possibility. All right. Shh. If you're going to be in here, you got to be quiet, okay? Quiet. So, yeah, huge shock. And even reading that news, it was hard to believe that it actually went down. Also, Ariel was a pretty big shock as well. And then those were the two that stood out the most. Also Gail Kim, someone who was like universally loved. The women felt blessed to have her. She was such a iconic, trailblazing women's wrestler, right? And she was great with working with them, and she really fought hard for the women's division. So yeah, I don't know. It's Anthem is the major company. There's some new ownership that just came in, so they're reformatting, and it's just above my pay grade for sure. And it's just stuff that I am not really in the know about, and I don't know what all went into those decisions. I have no idea, but it caught a lot of people off guard, I think. Yeah,
what makes Gail Kim so great at what she does? Because everyone talks about, Gail Kim, she's so smart, she's so level-headed when it comes to laying stuff out. Like, in your opinion, from being around her in her orbit for so long, what makes her great at what she does?
I think first and foremost, I think she was one of the first girls that really upped the style of women wrestling, especially like in the knockouts division. They were going hard like the guys were, especially when WWE played into the whole diva perspective a lot more, and they used women in a different capacity. I think she was a real standout and a real trailblazer, groundbreaker when it came to the style that women started working. And now that she has moved past that and she's hurt and she's beat up, she obviously put her body through a lot of wear and tear. I think she's got a real good mindset in knowing also how to optimize, your match, make a match great, but optimize it. And I think the girls feel very comfortable with her. They're very trusting of her just because she has been around for so long, and she has such a great track record, not only of in-ring performances and breaking barriers in the women's division, knockouts division, whatever division you call it, but she is someone that they feel like has their best interest in mind. She's very giving. She's very selfless in many ways, especially if she's putting stuff together. She doesn't really play favorites. She wants everyone to go out there and steal the show. She wants all of the women to stand out and look great. I think she's truly there for the greater good of wherever she's working.
Yeah, if I'm WWE or if I'm AEW, we got a Gothic Baby running.
I love you, baby.
Oh,
give me a kiss. Give me a kiss.
How sweet's that?
All right. Will you let me do my podcast?
Yeah.
Please. All right. Go outside, play with your brothers. Tell your brothers to be nice, okay?
See you later, Evie.
Bye, baby.
You gotta come to my house.
I'll come to your house. You have to tell Mama that John wants to come over and see what she says. Okay.
You know what? At GalaxyCon in Raleigh, they do want a Hardy party, so maybe then that might be the
Okay.
perfect time. All right, we're working it out, Evie.
The wheels are in motion.
That's in July.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind. We're working on a special Hardy party for July right now, as is. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about another Hardy party you got that you just announced. Actually,
Yeah,
it's coming up very soon. But
yeah,
I was going to say, if I was WWE or if I was AEW, I'm on the phone yesterday with Gail Kim trying to get her on board.
Right.
Invaluable as a coaching talent. Forget even just working with the women. If I was Shawn Michaels, I'd want her to be like top trainer at the PC right now. I think she's that type of mind that you want involved. So we'll see what comes of Gail's future. We have another run in again.
All right, Evie, let me have a little piece, okay?
I'm staying with you.
No, go, baby. You got to be out of here. Go.
These people, they everywhere.
These people.
Speaking of they everywhere,
yeah,
this happened a couple weeks ago, but it's been making the rounds over the last week, especially. BET named the top 15 best black wrestlers of all time, and your boy King Booker was number 1 on the list. I'll give you the full list, all right, just to give you perspective. 15 was Jazz, someone you worked with a little bit back in the Attitude Era. Number 14 was Shelton Benjamin.
Do you know Jazz is a female producer at TNA now?
Yes, I did know that.
Okay, good. Yep, she is.
I'm sure she's doing a great job too. We got 14 was Shelton Benjamin.
Yep.
13 Naomi. 12, the woman you defeated in the finals of Fear Factor, Jacqueline.
Right.
Number 11, Big E. Number 10, Oh Testify, Devon Dudley. Number 9, Bianca Belair. Number 8, Bobby Lashley. Number 7, your boy Ron Simmons. Number 6, Junkyard Dog. Number 5, Mercedes Moné. Number 4, Mark Henry. Number 3, Kofi Kingston. Number 2, the final boss, Dwayne. And number 1, Booker T. What do you think of that list?
I mean, I don't know. Did you say it was titled the greatest black wrestlers of all time?
It is titled From The Rock to Bianca Belair, the 15 greatest black wrestlers ever.
The one thing that's strange is, like, I feel like this is a list from like 1990 on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's some exclusions from, back from the past that I feel like would definitely fall under this list. It's an interesting list. It definitely feels like a modern, a take on modern wrestling and more modern black pro wrestlers. So I'm not opposed to kind of what they chose, what they did, but it definitely doesn't feel like it covers the totality of pro wrestling at all. Yeah. It does not. So it feels like to me, when you talk about the top 15 black wrestlers, this list definitely sounds like a more modern list. Mm-hmm. I don't think it includes the totality of like black performers in pro wrestling at all, because there's some names that aren't on there that should be on there, especially from, the days earlier. So it's interesting too that Booker is the number 1 guy, although I don't hate that at all, because I think Booker is an extremely top performer, an amazing performer in all capacities. But The Rock, I am surprised that he was not number 1, because The Rock is just such a big star. He's done so much for wrestling. He was such a big deal in wrestling as multi-time world champion and WWE flag bearer for so long. But I almost wonder if they kind of calculate their number 1 with Booker being like longevity and kind of like everything he's done, what he's came through, doing this as a tag team and then breaking out into a single star, winning the U.S. title and then moving up to the world title and becoming like a legit top guy. So I don't know. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with Booker being the number 1 on this list.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of your colleagues end up on this list. I love seeing Kofi Kingston get the respect for number 3. I mean, just an all-time great performer, in my opinion. Mark Henry, obviously, being on there too, just all very cool, in my opinion. On the WWE front, let's talk about a few things that happened. Number 1, since you're the tag team master here, How about we talk about the natural disasters going into the WWE Hall of Fame? No doubt a team that you and Jeff probably watched when you were younger.
100%.
What do you think about them getting the nod?
I'm very happy for both of them. I think that's cool that they're going in. I got to be around John Tenta a little bit. He was a real nice guy. We were there when he was doing the whole oddities deal. I've met Fred Ottman a couple times as well. It's very loud. No, get out, Whoopi. Get out. You're interrupting it. Out. Do not come in. And I'd met Fred Ottman. Are you there, John? You are.
I'm here.
I'd met Fred Ottman a couple times, and he was very nice in the times I'd met him. I remember taking a picture with him, just thinking it was cool that I took a picture with Tugboat or the Shockmaster. But I am glad that they were officially entered into the Hall of Fame, and I think they were a cool act. I think they were, whenever they were together as the Natural Disasters, Jeff and I, we dug them. I remember the angle where Earthquake did the deal and went back and forth and hit his finish on Jake the Snake Damien, and killed him. I remember that was like super impactful for us. In some ways, we were almost a little old enough that it seemed a little silly, but it was like very impactful, and it was a very intriguing angle. It did have us hooked though.
Yeah, I can't get over it. There's just something so similar about the natural disasters and the great parallels of all these techniques, but Fred Ottman specifically, just something so similar about he and the Shockmaster. I just can't put my finger on it. Just, I don't know. They both wear a similar helmet. That's what it is. That's what it is. Oh man, do you remember the Shockmaster happening?
I do. I remember it happening whenever it happened live. Yes, I remember. I was watching whenever that happened.
What was your reaction to that?
I didn't really think about it. I was like, oh. And once again, I was like, oh. Then he got up and did it, but like, I guess they made a decision because that happened, and I guess probably the people who were a little older, whatever kind of feedback they can get, they thought it was like a super goofy thing. So like, oh, maybe we'll make your character super goofy, and that's just kind of what they ended up rolling with. So
it is remarkable that Vince McMahon didn't come up with that idea, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I could see him staging.
Props to all involved for keeping a straight face to the best of their ability. In that, I mean, Sid is like seething; his veins are popping as this man just fell on his ass with the helmet popping off. So it is an all-time great segment. Go out of your way to watch that. On the modern WWE front, we got to talk about what's going on with John Cena and Cody Rhodes right now. A lot of discourse here. We hit on it a little bit last week. They have another promo segment this past week. Now, you said you were cool with the You People stuff last week with John Cena. They went back to that again this week. It was pretty much the same promo, more or less. The one thing that they did say is that John Cena wants to win the title and leave with the title.
Yeah, and destroy wrestling.
And destroy wrestling in the process. I got my thoughts on it. I'll make those clear in a moment or two. But are you still feeling the same way you felt last week about this?
I'm still okay with it. I mean, I would love to, once again, I would love to hear why he decided to choose The Rock, as opposed to, Cena's always done his own thing. I would love to hear why he decided to choose The Rock. That's really the only question mark I have more than anything else. I don't mind him coming out and working to get cheaper heat. In some ways, I like the fact that he's doing everything that he possibly can to remain booed and not be cheered. So I do respect him for that. And I love the fact that he comes out and he whines and complains and moans, talks nonstop, just whiny little bullshit, and that's the complete opposite of like who John Cena is as a person in general, especially as a character. His character was an extension of who he was as a person. So I mean, I do like the fact that he's going that route, and I am excited for the match just for the fact that, it feels like generation versus generation. You have the new John Cena versus the OG John Cena in Cody versus John.
Okay,
so I am down for that.
So why is that not the story? Why is that not the story? Because you just hit on something there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it can be, and I'm hoping they get there. I'm hoping they get there and they make it about that too.
There's a big disconnect for me with the why, the connective tissue here, because think of it this way. The Rock does this whole segment with Cody Rhodes about selling his soul. He doesn't want to do it. So John Cena, after he already wins the Elimination Chamber, then decides to sell his soul to The Rock. Here we are, almost a month later now. We don't know why he did this with The Rock. We don't know why he needed to do that when he already won the Elimination Chamber and was going to have his championship match regardless. Him hating the people all of a sudden doesn't have to correlate to why he joined The Rock after he already won the championship match. And there has been no self-reflection within how it relates to Cody Rhodes. What you just laid out there is far more intriguing, in my opinion, in terms of setting up something for Cody Rhodes to have legitimate beef with John Cena. Plus, John Cena battered and bludgeoned Cody Rhodes. Why has Cody Rhodes not tried to get physical payback on John Cena?
Mm-hmm.
There's a big disconnect there for me.
The one piece of the story that I like more than anything else is that there was the deal where whenever it was Punk, they got a head stomped, right? He got the head stomp, and then he pulled it back in
from Rollins. Yes.
Yeah, and he covered him, right? You know, that's the one thing that really was a sign. I feel like that he was different as a character. He was a little desperate.
I pointed that out when that happened.
No, I know you did, and I agree with you. You know, so that was one good bit. So I dig the fact that they did that. I do hope to see more out of this. Like I want to know why, you know, specifically he decided to choose The Rock and sell his soul. Like I get
what's, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but like what does it even constitute selling his soul? Him doing that with The Rock didn't help him in any way. Like he already punched his ticket to WrestleMania at that point. And since there's been no follow-up to that, what is the advantage of working with The Rock? If it's as simple as I need to win 17 and I need to leave with this championship, and the way that I do that is to ensure that I have The Rock in my corner, that's it. That's all you need, right?
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I would like to hear that though. You know, I mean, that's what, I agree. I mean, I feel like that's ultimately what the motivate. I mean, that seems like that is what the motivation is going to be. You know, I'm hoping we get there, and I'm hoping we get some really cool twists on the way before we get to Mania.
And I just think it's underselling Cody Rhodes a little bit, because I think you people is I mean, you even said it's like, it's cheap heat in a way because it's easy. And Cody Rhodes is such a fantastic babyface that I think they're underselling his ability to get the crowd on his side without needing John Cena to be like, you people did this, you people did that. Cody's that good at getting people to care about him. So I am a little disappointed in that. And that's just my take on it.
I think at some point you do have to have Cody get his hands on Cena.
Yeah,
he has to get a little retribution for what he did to him at Elimination Chamber 2.
The first thing that he did when he saw John Cena, he bludgeoned him. So better hope you're not Travis Scott there. Listen, it's a hard story to build, right, Matt? Like it's not an easy thing to do. This is the main event of WrestleMania, and it's very hard to make sure that you're telling that coherent story. But one thing that doesn't have to be hard is getting hard with our friends over at Blue Chew. We want to help you have better sex with Blue Chew. See, Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And starting now, Blue Chew is offering a combo so strong it's going to knock your socks off and your neighbor's socks off and your neighbor's socks off. You'll have to move towns. You're going to have to leave Podunk, Cameron, North Carolina with the amount of noise that you're going to be making. Blue Chew Max has arrived, and it combines the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable tablet. The combo acts fast, and yes, it lasts. Guys, be ready when they need it and get your first month of Blue Chew absolutely free. Great sex is just a few clicks away. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you're going to receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the United States, prepared and shipped directly to your door. And the best part, it's all done online. Means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Matt, people do not have any clue how hard it is to be Matt Hardy. So this has got to be the closest they can get.
Yes, they do not have a clue of how hard it is to be Matt Hardy. And they do not have a clue about how much I love your Blue Chew reads, your Blue Chew ads, because I'm sitting over here erect with pleasure. And that's much like what Blue Chew does to you as well.
Hey, you got the 5-day trip at home there, man. I hope you pop 6, 7, 8 Blue Chews in that time. It's
go nuts.
You just gotta go nuts, bro.
Go double digits.
That's gotta be doing Steiner math here, trying to keep up with everything. So we want to make your life easier by getting harder and discovering your options at BlueChew.com. We got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use promo code HARDY. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code HARDY, HARDY. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the extreme life of Matt Hardy. I do want to mention real quick, too, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins is a thing. Triple threat match. A lot of triple threat matches, a lot of multi-man matches on this card. We're looking at WrestleMania 2000 all over again here, Matt. But this is a big one. What do you think of that match coming to fruition and how that played out?
It'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting if that match ends up going on last. You think it'll go on last night one?
I think that it could.
It could. Do you think it will?
I don't know that it needs to. We'll see.
No, I'm okay. Thank you, Barty.
Another run-in. We got the whole gaggle minus Maxwell so far.
Maxwell's too smart to come in here.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, Barty.
Money.
See you, Barty.
Thank you, Big Money. Thank you, Big Money, Barty. All right. Let us finish up, buddy.
I also have some quarters.
All right. Outside. Take those quarters outside. Get out of here. No quarter catch.
He's living the gimmick. He learned from his dad. He knows.
Yeah, I think he did.
But yeah, I mean, it could go on last. Do I think it needs to go on last? I don't think it needs to. I don't think just because it's a Roman Reigns match, it needs to be the main event.
No, I mean, honestly, I feel like the only reason they would put it on last is to give Punk his main event last match of WrestleMania.
I am curious, if this is the start of something with Punk. Even though I ultimately think the Cena heel turn is to help Cody in the end. The whole line about him taking the title and leaving got my brain churning a little bit.
Yeah, how about Punk?
And it makes me wonder if they're going to run Punk and Cena back at Money in the Bank and reverse the roles,
right?
From what they did so many years ago. That would be a pretty unique opportunity to run that back.
All right, Barty, go.
We are struggling on this week's podcast.
Go. Out. Close the door. You gotta finish. Afterwards.
This is what happens when Mom is out of commission.
Yeah, when Mom is laying down. Go ahead. We'll be out. No, I'll tell you when. I'll call. Unless you keep coming in. And then you're not gonna get to it. You have to stay out. Respect the process.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, I just wanted to throw that on there. I don't want to waste any more time. I want to get rolling with this episode, Matt. Before we can, I got to please hit us with that Matt fact.
Matt fact: Matt feels the light when the sun hits his skin.
Ooh, that's very springtimey.
It is. I did that. So Max and I, we just changed the water in the cold plunge, and I put a new filter in it, which I love doing. And it was kicking it today. It was super cold. I mean, I'd had it set at 35, and it probably was 35 because you step in it and it feels like ice. That's how the water feels, like you're moving through ice. And I was sitting in there, and I was in there probably 4 minutes. I don't even think I went the full 5. Sat in about 4 minutes. I got out and I did that, and I dried off, and I was getting ready to do cardio and do that. And I just went outside real quick because I had to make a call. And it was so warm already. The morning in the summertime, it's just like you could feel, especially because I was cold, and you could feel the sun on your skin, and it's that best feeling, especially during the springtime when you feel sun, especially if you're by the pool, you jump out and it's a little chilly, and you get and like lay down in the sun, you start soaking it in, and sun is very good for you too. People, get out and make sure you get sun, because you do need sun.
You certainly do need sun. It's been wish-washy up here, but all I care about as we record this tomorrow is opening day in Major League Baseball. That's where the boys of summer play. So we are so close to that permanent nice weather, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I start to feel it a little more here. I'm excited. I'm going down to Florida for AC/DC in May. That's my bread and butter right there. I'll be a happy boy in Tampa, nice and warm. I do
got to tell you, sorry, Jeff and his family, they went and saw Deftones because his 14-year-old daughter loves Deftones.
Yeah.
And they went to Charlotte and saw Deftones, and he said they had the time of their life. That was 2 nights ago.
That's awesome, man. Live music, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
That's
I know it's your favorite, man. You live for it.
You can hear some Jeff Hardy live music too, April 5th, correct?
Yes, April 5th, we are going to be doing a Hardy party at the Irish Pub in Greenville, South Carolina. We had a little bit of an issue getting a venue for this particular Hardy party. We were going to do it at the con, and there was another place, and it fell through, and then we had another place, and we ended up with the Irish Pub. So we will be there. We do have a location. It's locked in, and on April the 5th at 7:30 p.m. that night, myself and Brother Nero, we're going to be having a Hardy party. I'm going to be doing a live edition of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. We're going to be sitting there, and I'll probably do a Q&A as well, and Jeff's going to come through with a live acoustic concert. It's going to be a fun time.
The house show version, as we call it.
Sir.
Work the entertainment match.
Yes, sir.
On this one. It's going to be great. Make sure you're out there. The Irish Pub in Greenville, South Carolina. Okay. 22nd anniversary WrestleMania 19. We talked about you winning the Cruiserweight Championship a few weeks back here at No Way Out 2003. Go into the archives, extremehardy.com, if you haven't yet, to listen to that episode. You had an awesome match to win that. And now you are firmly the Cruiserweight champion in the spring of 2003. You got your MF Shannon Moore, and you're on a collision course with a guy who has come into the company within the last 6-7 months or so, and his name is Rey Mysterio. Let's talk about Rey making the jump to WWE after the closing of WCW, which, as we tape this, by the way, was 24 years ago today, which is insane. But Rey ends up coming in the fall. What was the impression of Rey, and what did people think his ceiling could be?
I'm not sure what Vince would have initially thought of Rey Mysterio. I would imagine once he saw, Rey is a very charming, charismatic person. He's a socialite, like when you see him, it's just people gravitate towards him, especially his personality. So I would imagine Vince would have been fond of him in that capacity for sure. But I just know, being a smaller guy, being a cruiserweight, I feel like back in the day, those things would kind of worked against you, with Vince McMahon, who's typically a big guy. He loved a Lex Luger build. He loved a guy that was big and muscular and would be recognized in an airport. That was his MO always. But I think Rey had such a good reputation. I was a huge fan of Rey from early on in the day when myself and Jeff saw his series of matches with Psychosis and ECW. Like, I love the stuff Rey did. He was one of the people I hoped I got to work with one day down the road in the business. And lo and behold, I did. I got to work with him many, many times. And he's one of my favorite opponents of all time, no doubt. I think once Rey got there and started doing his thing, I think once people saw how cool it was as a luchador, and he saw the charisma that Rey had, and I think he had such a marketable look as Rey Mysterio and the different outfits he would wear. I think Vince was really solidly behind him when it was all said and done.
To be fair, he's not presented like a lot of the other cruiserweights. He's not presented like a lot of the other Mexican wrestlers at the time. He comes in with superstar entrance.
He does.
Making a big deal of the mask. So someone saw something in him.
100%. And I would imagine the people that were worked around Vince in Vince's circle that were like in his ear, they're like, God, this guy could have been a big deal. They took the mask off of him in WCW. It was a terrible idea. We need to put the mask on him, and this guy has the potential to be a huge deal. And they probably sold they probably sold Vince on Rey Mysterio on merch selling more than anything else, because I think that was a very, very huge moving. He was a huge merchandise mover.
I mean, just look at what's happening with Penta right now, and
sure,
Ray Phoenix is going to be coming in too. I mean, that's going to be a money-making machine. Those two guys just off the merchandise alone.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this. I used to host a podcast with this guy who was important in WCW, and I one time asked him about taking the mask off Rey Mysterio, and there were a lot of excuses for why they did it, but it did not make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I know there were some people said, "Oh, he's just such a good-looking guy, and people will love him if they see his face." But man, he has such a special mystique and such a special look. It was a mistake to take the mask off of him. And you know how in Lucha Libre in Mexico, how sacred the mask is and how important it is. And I love that. I think it's nice if you have those luchadors, if you can actually, still stay faithful to their traditions and their beliefs in Mexico and kind of carry them into an American wrestling product still as an extension of Mexican Lucha Libre promotion. I think that's cool.
Absolutely. I mean, he was an all-time great already coming into WWE, and he gets the big promotion. When do you find out you're going to be working with Rey into WrestleMania season?
I find that out right around the time I was supposed to be the initial thing. Vince was very, very high on me at this time, which was cool. And we've talked about this some in a little bit of detail here on the podcast. I was initially going to do a deal with Edge, and we were going to go into a singles program when Matt Hardy version 1, the Sensei of Attitude, was first getting over. And then what ended up happening is John Laurinaitis, who was a WCW guy, and he kind of had some of his own guys there. It kind of really rallied towards him, where I was just more of a Vince and WWE guy. I didn't know how much I could trust the John Laurinaitis right after WCW had came and, became part of a merger with WWE, obviously. So John Laurinaitis ended up pushing for A-Train to get this program with Edge. And he thought we could push him. He thought he could be a bigger money-making heel than Matt Hardy version 1, and he thought he could be more successful. He'd be a big killer, and he could challenge for the championship, whatever else. And then I remember Vince told me, he said, "Well, we had some people push for this, and they want to do this. I was going to have you do that with Edge. I know you know that, but I want to thank you for not making a big deal out of it, not going crazy, pitching a fit." He said, "We'll find something else for you, and we'll try and get another story going for you that'll fit your character and that'll be good for you." And they came to me and they always said, "Hey, what if we did a deal where you started losing weight to diet down and win the Cruiserweight Championship? And maybe even if you really don't lose the weight, it's maybe even better." You know what I mean? And people think, "Oh, it's bullshit. There's a guy who weighs 220, 225 pounds, and he's competing, supposed to be 205 or less, whatever." And I was kind of intrigued by it. And I think probably somebody who pitched that to Vince thought "Oh, well, it's kind of a demotion for him, but maybe he's still cool with it, whatever." And I've never in pro wrestling looked at stuff as a demotion. I've looked at stuff as a challenge. And whatever you're doing, get in there and give it your all, bust your ass, make the most out of it, and make it the most entertaining thing on the show. And if you can do that, it is not a demotion. You can actually give yourself a promotion. And I felt like that's what I did during that whole story. They put Shannon with me. He was my trainer. He was my MFer. I got to have a minion that I could take my frustrations out on. And we did this whole dieting thing. And I legit tried to diet pretty hard. And I did. I dropped down to probably between 210 and 215 during that time. I didn't get down to 205 all the way, but I did drop probably 10, 15 pounds because I was trying to live vicariously, through the story that I was doing. I was trying to live like that in real life. So it was fun. I had a blast doing it. It's one of the funnest stories I've ever done. And then once we started doing it, Vince said "Okay, cool. We're going to go all the way with this. I'm going to do a huge match. We're going to build up you and Rey at WrestleMania, and it's going to be a big deal." And that's kind of where once I started rolling with this, Vince totally committed to it. And, I was going to win the Cruiserweight title. Then we're going to go to Rey and have a big blow off at WrestleMania.
Man, big blow off at WrestleMania with Rey Mysterio. Huh. No sweat, right? Nice, easy day at the office.
No, it was great. I lived for those challenges in those days, which it was cool. And the thing that ended up being even more cool of it, as we'll talk about later in the story, is how Vince ended up loving what I was doing so much that changed, and we ended up extending the whole program.
Well, there's really no reason to sweat because you were using Mando even back then. I know that. I'm confident in that, Matt Hardy, because if there's one thing Matt Hardy knows, it's about keeping cool Carlito style, and Mando is going to help you do that. Do your pits stink? Do your balls stink? Mando is here to save the day, just like it did for Matt Hardy at WrestleMania 19, because Mando is whole body deodorant that is safe to use anywhere on your body, your pits, your balls, your thigh folds, your belly buttons, your butt cracks, your feet. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal body odor was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. And it's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. You can try their solid deodorant stick that's formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts, or maybe the spray deodorant, which is aluminum free and ideal for hard to reach places. All these products are baking soda free and paraben free, and you can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. And Matt, I know this is your favorite thing when I talk about Mando here, because Mando is clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, it's a 0. That's a good smelling grundle, isn't that?
That's a great smelling grundle. And I got to tell you, I need some Mando right now. You got me sweating with that segue. I got so passionately into what I was doing, I didn't even follow you all the way. So what am I doing here? Yeah, I love some Mando, man. I love it. You put it on and it lasts throughout the day, and you can be confident that from sun up to sundown, you're going to smell great.
Especially because you got the gaggle running around. They got you sweating. You got to stay on your feet all day. It's going to keep you in the best shape that you can possibly be in, while making sure that mama doesn't yell at you for stinking like trailer trash.
Or persisting.
For that as well. So do you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now? Well, you can find them in Walmart, Target, other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, here's where you're going to go. ShopMando.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash, or my personal favorite, the deodorant wipes. I bring them with me every night to SNY because those studio lights are hot. And you're going to get free shipping on this. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to more than 40% off your starting pack. Just use code HARDY at shopmando.com. That's HARDY at SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Okay, we are going to watch this WrestleMania match here from WrestleMania 19. It's Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio at what was known as Safeco Field back then in Seattle. This is a really unique setup for the venue here. It's, to my knowledge, I think it's the first pure baseball stadium that hosts WrestleMania, because you did the Astrodome, which of course was set up for baseball, but that was multi-purpose. It was like cookie cutter circular, and the Sky Dome the next year after that was also the same. So this is a very unique venue to host WrestleMania in at the time. And you guys are opening the show, so I'm really excited to talk about that as we watch this. If you're watching on Peacock or if you're watching on Netflix, we are starting at the beginning of Rey's entrance here so we can tell some stories, because it's not the world's longest match. We're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So when did you find out you guys were opening up the card?
We found out a couple days before that we were opening up the card, and we also found out that I would be retaining the title as well. So that information dropped at the same time.
So you were under the impression you were not going to be retaining the title initially?
No, initially it was going to be a blow-off, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like we were going to build to the big thing where Rey gets his moment. He becomes the Cruiserweight champion, and Vince said he wanted to make a big deal out of it. He said, I want him to beat someone that is an established star that people look at and see as a star, and you can do that, and especially you're getting some momentum as a heel. You know, I went for months working with Taker and Brock and those guys, and I was right around that main event area, so I got established pretty well. And then the more we were doing this, Vince is like, no, it's too early to take it off of you. You have too much heat. It's too good. Like, there's still a better and bigger building process for you. I want to keep it on you. And that was kind of the whole mindset behind that. And everybody was down. Rey was cool with it. Everybody else was.
Here is Matt Hardy's first ever singles WrestleMania entrance, which is kind of cool.
There you have it. And as you can see, I was appearing in my 4th WrestleMania at this time.
But this is a big
This
deal.
was a matter of fact.
Man. This
not
is
a
your
match
first
fixture.
singles match. This is a big deal. Did that sit in with you that like you were having this opportunity here?
It did. I was excited, but well, also something that feels so strange too is that I'm the Hardy going out here being victorious in his first singles match on WrestleMania. It was strange. But it did feel like a big deal, and it was like a big challenge, and I really wanted to rise to the occasion.
You look awesome coming down the ring here. I'm sure Shannon was beyond pumped for the opportunity to be there with you.
Yeah,
And we got some cheap heat to start the match, but Ray was
yeah,
ready for it.
yeah. It was, and this we lost like two or 3 minutes on this match, real late in the day, like a couple hours before we went out. So this one we moved through stuff. Like I would have loved to slow down the pace a little bit on some occasions, but we didn't. We had to go. We were going to try and get in as much good stuff as we could, because we had a lot of cool stuff we wanted to do in this match. We had to cut out a couple of the big things, but we still tried to get as much in as possible.
Why'd you lose time?
Because the matches that were looked at as the main events on the show needed more time.
It's a fun little cutoff there. You're in the ref's face, and
Yeah,
it prevents him from seeing Shannon take out
yeah,
Ray.
that did work out. That did work out well. I always
Look,
too. I loved being a heel and getting heat on people. Just like kind of keep it simple. But if you can come up with stuff that like looks creative and different, that it isn't usually seen, or just just like a unique way of doing it. And it was around this time I really tried to start working on people's neck and their upper body to build towards a twist of fate as my finish.
love Ray's outfit here, the Daredevil inspired costume for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And you talked about the pace and how fast it was. I think that kind of works for a cruiserweight match. It's okay.
Do you know what? You're right. It does. It does. You are right too. A cruiserweight match is fast like that. I was just gonna say that move that I did where I picked him up like a back suplex and turned and dropped the elbow on him. It's been years since I've broken that out, but I did that in the match against Fraxium on NXT, which was real cool. I did that with Axiom actually.
What made you want to do that?
He was a light. I knew it would be really easy with him, like a lighter guy, easy. And just to bring it back out, I needed something in there that was half-ass decent, so it was a good little spot to reincarnate.
You were definitely going a mile a minute here. There's no doubt about that. But
Yeah,
it's a fun match so far.
I love that spot, the up and over, and I slide underneath him into a side effect. That was Ray's idea. What a great idea it was.
Oh, I was gonna say, does Ray have a lot of input on a match like this?
Ray's very, very creative, very creative. Like we worked all the time. He said, "Oh, maybe we could try this," and he was just so agile and small and fast. Like he could literally do anything. If you needed to get into some kind of certain position, he was so good at that.
I feel like Jeff and Ray would probably be kindred spirits in that sort of thing.
Yeah, they would. They always got along really well. They do kind of act as kindred spirits.
Ray's taken some pretty crazy bumps in his career too.
He surely has.
It's remarkable. I mean, you even are just so much bigger than Ray, and it makes for a really good visual.
Yeah, no doubt.
There we go. Ooh,
Eating it. Yeah, we were moving for sure.
I dig it though. Ducks the line,
Yes.
crossbody. I mean, are you feeling the pressure to open this show? Does that come with a little added?
It certainly does. The first match is a very crucial match, and a lot of people say that if you're not on last, the next most important match is being first, and in some ways it really is, because you're kind of the pace setter for the entire show.
Yeah, you got to set the tone for everyone that follows you.
We would go out there a lot, though. Jeff and I did that so many times. We were so many times the pace setters for the show. We would go out there and really set the tone. And usually it would be good, because it would usually be a real hot contest. People would be moving, and that's what Ray and I were trying to provide here.
Really creative how the distraction spots have been set up in this match. Great facial.
I do. I even think about this sometimes when I sell, even now as a babyface. It's like sometimes I need to sell a little more as a heel, be a little more animated. I actually was thinking about that. I watched a match last night that was the SmackDown before this match, I want to say, and it was me and Shannon versus Ray and Brian Kendrick, and I put it on. You know, it was one of those. Someone said it was 22 years ago, and I put it on. 20 years ago today, says the net, and just I love the way I was selling in that match, and it's really great to like move, especially on bigger bumps, whatever it may be, and like really react to them and register big.
You know why people were super into that, Matt? How you can tell you were teasing that razor's edge from the top there. All the flash bulbs started going off. So
yeah.
They're very into what you guys are doing here. Whoop. Here goes Shannon. Oh boy, see, this is great because this feels like the end of the world for Matt Hardy right here.
Yeah.
Oh boy. You know what's coming. But Matt Hardy's done some tape study. Oh man.
The positioning.
The rope. What a fun finish that is. Holy cow.
Our positioning was really good on that.
And it's shocking. I mean, look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was like people were shocked. They thought Ray was definitely going to win. I mean, because Ray is, in my opinion, the greatest luchador of all time. I'd say the greatest cruiserweight of all time too. So they expected me doing this bullshit hokey story. I'm going to lose weight. I get down to 205 and I'm doing whatever it takes to make the weight. I will get naked and get on the scale if I have to, whatever. And, we do the whole thing and they go, well, they're going to WrestleMania and Matt's the bad guy. Obviously Ray's going to win and it's going to be his time. So I think there was a lot of legitimate shock in the crowd whenever that happened and I retained.
You don't got to get naked to go on the scale these days because your chubbies are so lightweight that when you step on the scale, you won't even notice them. And this is truly the best time of the year. As you mentioned, you love seeing your skin touch the sand, be kissed by the sun. And of course, we know that springtime means March Madness because March Madness has in fact been mad. There have been buzzer beaters. There have been high stakes hoops and everyone's watching their bracket predictions completely implode. It's a time of excitement, a time of unpredictability, and a time where legends are forged, just like Matt Hardy. And that's why Matt Hardy wears chubbies. See, Chubbies has mastered the art of stylish casual wear that doesn't skimp out on performance or durability, whether it's their bright and stretchy polos, their iconic thigh-exposing shorts, or their one-of-a-kind swim trunks, also known as the perfect threads to wear as you helplessly watch the remainder of your bracket predictions utterly fail. Maybe you're watching your games with friends. Well, Chubby's original shorts give you that classic feel with a modern look. Maybe you're hitting the gym to make up for all that pizza or get ready for all the springtime festivities that are to come. Chubby's ultimate training shorts are built to sweat in with advanced fitness features. We could keep going, but Chubby's only paid for so long of an ad slot here, Matt Hardy. All in all, you deserve a wardrobe upgrade for springtime and beyond. So to sweeten the deal, for a limited time, Chubby's has given our listeners 20% off your order with exclusive code Matt Hardy at chubbysshorts.com. We're talking the original stretch shorts, which are my absolute favorite. I wore them all around Asbury Park last year. Shorter shorts are kind of back in, Matt Hardy. For a while back when you were running along, having the single Matt Hardy days, those longer cargo shorts were the jam. But now some shorter, stretchy shorts are what would they'd say it's chic now, right? So
chic now. It's what the cool kids wear.
Yeah. So what are you rocking? You rocking those this spring? You rocking the performance polos, the swim collection? What's on your wardrobe?
I'm rocking all kind of chubbies, but I have a couple pair of chubbies, and this morning I got into the cold plunge with it, and you feel like you're naked. They're so light, they're so thin, they feel so good. You get in there, you do it. I went out, and that matte fact, whenever the sun was touching my skin, I felt enlightened. It was enthralling. It was intoxicating. And then they dried off because they are so thin and such great material. So I didn't have to change shorts. I just went straight down and did an hour cardio right behind that.
There you go. So whether you're getting dressed for your workday, a workout, or a weekend getaway, there's a Chubbies for that. For a limited time, Chubbies is giving our viewers 20% off your order with our code Matt Hardy at chubbysshorts.com. That's code Matt Hardy at chubbysshorts.com. Support the extreme life of Matt Hardy. Tell them we sent you. Be your own Cinderella story this March with Chubbies. Now, I do want to just hit a little more on the match itself, because it was such a fast match.
Yeah.
And I mean, who's taking the lead in putting that thing together? Is that collaborative? Is it producer? Because not too many people in WWE at the time had that cruiserweight mindset. So I'd love to know how that sausage is made.
I am trying. Honest to God, I can't remember who the producer was, but I do know that Ray and I had a lot of all
Yeah.
those major spots were ideas that Ray and I had, and
Yeah.
I think we had thought about that a lot during the week we were there as we were doing all the WWE Access stuff, which is what now the world of WrestleMania, I think is what they call it. I'm not sure we did have a producer. I think Michael Hayes was out there helping a little bit. And I know they were big on the finish, because it was a real shitty finish where I was able to like get him on my shoulders and he rolled down through and I stopped him, but I grabbed that rope for the leverage at the very end, which was a good heelish thing. And there were several heelish things throughout that match. So I was trying to do, all that I could do to remain a heel and remain a bad guy. Once again, I still am so grateful for the Live for the Moment song, just because that was something different. Because when I first turned as Matt Hardy version 1, the first few times I came out to the Hardy Boys music, I was getting like this monster pop, just like the Hardy Boys, because people are so programmed to get excited with that music. So changing the music helped me a lot. And it's crazy how that music now would get a huge reaction if I walked out on the WWE programming, so that'll be fun one day when that day occurs. But long story short, man, it was a fun match. It was very collaborative. A couple of the bombs we wanted to do in there, but we had to chop some of that out just because we didn't have time over the last, couple hours before the match.
Do you remember what got cut from the match?
I know that we were going to do a big dive outside is one thing. We had a unique way to get into it, and he was going to do a big dive on me outside and go back in the ring. And I remember, because we were going to have to sell that some, we ended up taking that out. That's one thing I remember. I think we had another false or so we were going to do, but there were a couple things we definitely had to trim just for time constraints.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of false finishes in it, but I did think that the cutoff worked really, really well. Shannon was great in the match. He played his role perfectly.
Shannon was great with me. I mean, he added so much to Matt Hardy version 1. And, a lot of people thought like, oh, well, he's just kind of like this joke guy outside. I mean, he was he was crucial to the things I was doing and the things that I was getting over, especially getting me over as a heel and making me seem like a real slimy piece of shit for like taking advantage of someone who was my childhood friend who grew up around me. I was like an older, leader to him, and now I'm taking advantage of him. So he played his part perfectly.
Vince had a reputation for bringing guys in who got big somewhere else and making them lose on the big stage for the first time. It happened repeatedly. It happened with Sting. It happened with AJ Styles at their first WrestleManias. It's something that definitely rubbed a lot of people the wrong way over the years, but maybe made some hesitant to even go to WWE. And here's Ray, who comes in, he gets this big entrance, all the hoopla. Everyone's expecting him to win. They want to see him win, and he doesn't win. I know that there was a game plan for him to ultimately win, but for a guy who's trying to get over with the crowd and stay sustained at that level, there's probably a little bit of an inherent risk of having him lose on a stage like this, so fresh in the company. Was there any concern of that nature that could come back to bite him?
I don't think so. I mean, it was, we already had everything laid out and everybody was cool with it. And Ray was cool with it. And I love the fact, I mean, if we didn't lay it out that way, who knows? Dominic may not have became a big star whenever I tried to beat up his father in front of him,
Wow, that's, man, can you imagine that in the multiverse there where Dominic doesn't actually have a reason to be triggered to get into this crazy business?
Right.
And I mean, if I didn't know better, I think you're taking credit for making Dominic Mysterio right now.
Oh, Matt Hardy version 1 would.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into. I'm not going to go into everything.
Matt Hardy made Dom Mysterio.
Oh yeah, he go. Matt made Dom Mysterio. Dom Mysterio. It's so funny.
Dom.
It's I love what Dominic's doing, man. He's so great. I love what he's doing in every single capacity.
Yeah, he's come a long way, because when he got on that main roster with pretty much no developmental, he was generic pro wrestler number 5. and
Sure.
now he's developed into one of WWE's most just hated characters. He is truly one of the most hated characters.
I mean, I just he was around wrestling enough, and he was like with his dad enough. I think it's just like you kind of get a good grasp of like how wrestling really works. You know what I mean? And I think that experience of being around wrestling and see what works for people and understanding the process of the way the pro wrestling business actually works. There's a lot of people that think they know how it works, but to be able to actually see it and understand the way that it really works is just, I mean, you can't put a price on that. It's a priceless gift, and I think Dom saw a lot of that, and he very much was like a sponge. He would soak everything up, and you can tell he's like a lifelong watcher and supporter and student of the game when it comes to pro wrestling.
Well, and there really was a good team effort made into helping make Dom too. Like Edge was part of it. Ray was obviously a big part of it.
Sure.
The family was a part of it. Rhea Ripley got super over, and she was a big part of that. Finn Balor played a role in that. Even commentary, Pat McAfee, whenever there's a garbage can used, he says, "Oh, look, they're using a Dom Mysterio." It's like they try to find ways. Everyone tries to get Dom over, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a way that you tell everyone that this character matters, and who better than the ultimate sympathetic babyface Rey Mysterio to play that role. I mean, is he on the short list of greatest babyfaces ever in your opinion?
Ray?
Yeah.
Yes. I think so. I mean, I would put him down as the greatest luchador of all time, first and foremost. I mean, I've thought about everybody. I mean, just the stuff he's done has transcended just so much. He was successful in Mexico. He was successful in ECW. Successful in WCW. Successful in WWE. Became a world champion, which was groundbreaking for someone his size. He's an amazing guy. Ray's the best. Can't say enough good stuff about him. I'd say here and put him over ad nauseum. You know what I mean? He's the best.
Yeah, and he had this weird career resurgence, which thank goodness he did. Where his body was really broken down. Then what was it? He got stem cell treatment, right?
Stem cell. Yeah, he was a big stem cell guy,
and that totally rehabbed his body and gave him an extra 10 plus years to his career, which is nuts because he's still out there doing high impact luchador style wrestling. Amazing.
We had a period of about six to 8 months where our travel crew exclusively, we'd always travel together. It'd be me, Ray, R-Truth, and Jack Swagger, Jake Hager. So we that was a hell of a crew, man. And we had some good times. We had a lot of fun, really good times. But we rolled together for a long time. It was a hell of a good car, man.
Yeah, that's a motley crew right there.
Yeah,
of people. That's pretty crazy. And we're not done talking about Ray. We're going to talk about Ray more on this podcast. We're going to talk about his journey in wrestling, and of course that SmackDown main event that you hold so near and dear to your heart that I know is one of your favorite matches that you ever had in your entire career. So
it is.
We'll definitely get into that at a later date here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. The kids have had an active episode here on the Extreme Life. I know you got a lot to get to, but anything else you want to add about this WrestleMania match? I didn't really ask you about the rest of that WrestleMania card, but of course this is The Rock versus Stone Cold in what was Stone Cold's final match until the Kevin Owens match a few years ago. Do you remember there being a somberness around that?
I do. I do know that people were sad to see that Steve was going to be hanging it up, that he wasn't going to be around in the same capacity that he was. So I think there was a somberness. There was a sadness. There was I think people bereaved the Stone Cold character, and also Steve there kind of as locker room leader too, because he was always real good to boost morale, and he was one of those guys that wasn't afraid to go like, "Hey kid, that shit was awesome, good stuff. Maybe do this or do that. I think it'll be even better."
Yeah.
So he was never afraid to, give tips out and give advice or whatever else. But there were some people that were bereaving that being his last match.
Rumor has it that this card has your favorite Undertaker match of all time, which is the Undertaker versus Big Show and A-Train with I can't even say that with a straight face with interference from who is it, Nathan Jones, right? Who came
That sounds about right.
and hit the spin kick?
Round up all the other big guys. Throw them in there with Tig.
Oh boy, howdy! That was one. And then of
What
course there was
one thing I can tell you about that I was really excited for. When I was a young kid, I loved the Seattle Supersonics hat and their merchandise and stuff like that. And I thought it was so cool. And I love the fact that the Space Needle was on the city outline,
Yep.
And I got to go, Jeff and I, the very first time we ever got to go to Seattle for a house show, we went to the Space Needle and we went up and we ate. And I'll never forget, we got the clam chowder. It was the appetizer. And then we had our other food too. But that became every time we were in Seattle, Jeff and I would go to the Space Needle, we'd get clam chowder. If we had time, if time allowed it, we would do that always. But I got to hang out in Seattle for, that week before WrestleMania. So that was a lot of fun. I had a real great time. That was a real fun time at Mania for sure, because it was in Seattle. And that was like, that was a city I was a huge mark for. And I just because of the architecture and something that really got a hold of me as a little kid. So I really enjoyed it. They have a lot of great seafood there. I ate seafood restaurants like crazy that week.
Big Sean Kemp and Gary Payton guy, are you?
Yeah. I mean, I like Sean Kemp. It wasn't even. I don't even think it was as much that I was a big. Yeah, it was the logo. And it had a hold on me for some reason. It really, really did.
Well, it was big in the 90s. Like that was like a big culture thing. The Supersonics logo, and man, they got done dirty there. Those fans, I feel bad for them. Hopefully, they get an NBA franchise again at some point. But it was a cool venue, safe go for WrestleMania. So glad you got that experience. And I do want to ask you real quick before we wrap up. Brock and Kurt on that show. That's when Brock goes for the shooting star press and just wipes out. Kurt's got a broken neck. I mean, that's one of the scariest spots in WWE history. Do you remember any of the fallout from that?
I remember watching it being like, ooh, it was one of those. I was definitely there watching it live, and we were like all concerned and worried about it. I ended up doing an angle with Brock shortly thereafter, and we were like the main event of a SmackDown, where I said, if you'll quit this fake injury business, and stand up, he said, we need to go, title for title, whatever. He said, we need to see who's the greatest champion. I don't think I said we need to go title for title, but we need to see who's the greatest champion, the world heavyweight champion or the world lightweight champion, like cruiserweight champion. And we had a match that was on SmackDown shortly thereafter, where I told him, like, quit faking your silly neck business. I know you're just faking it.
That's some good heel shit right there from Matt Hardy. That's great. It's a great episode here of the Extreme Life. I want to remind everyone too, you can get on board with us. You go to advertisewithhardy.com, promote your business to the extreme, get in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week. That is advertisewithhardy.com. And if you want to get one of these sick Matt Fact, Matt Fiction t-shirts, you go to boxofgimmicks.com and search the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy store. No better time than the spring to get those t-shirts on your back, especially as we go 3.5 hours now on this podcast. I can't believe we're still going. It's absolutely wild.
We're not going to get busted. She's not coming out of her bed.
No,
she's
the kids very well.
Yeah, the kids may. The kids may.
Anything else you want to add for the Die Hardys?
The one thing I was going to say is that I'll never forget whenever Brock did the shooting star press. I remember I was talking with Ron Simmons, and he had said, I can't believe he, wants to do these flips. This big guy, he's this big monster. Nobody's near him in size, and he's going to do this flip. I'll never forget whenever he did that, and everybody that was watching was like, "Oh shit!" Everybody was like cringing, and I remember I looked over at Ron, and Ron looked at me. Ron said, "He flipped out." That was Ron's response. I even wonder. I'm gonna call real quick. I'm gonna call Wolfie, just see if he even responds. Wolfie. Wolfgang.
Goodness gracious!
All right, let's see if he comes here real quick.
Yeah,
he did say, you know what? Maxwell walked in here to grab something, and he walked out very quietly. You didn't even know he was here.
Look at that respect.
All right, there you go. Respect. What do you want to say, Wolfie? This is your chance. What do you want to say to all the viewers?
Time to take over the stream.
All right, take over the stream. What are you gonna do?
First,
take it over.
First, I'm gonna kick you out, and then I'm gonna go do all my stuff.
You're gonna kick me out and to do all my stuff?
Yeah.
Here, I'll give you the chair right now. Here you go.
Nice,
you get just a little. Yep. Nice. We had a good run. Week. We had a good run, John.
I'll see you next week.
All right, we'll see you next week.
What about your drink? Let's begin the stream.
Wolfgang,
Podcast, yeah.
Lay down the law, Wolfie.
There, go. Talk.
So,
You guys join.
what have we been talking about?
We talked about WrestleMania 19.
Rey Mysterio.
Oh, okay.
What do you
Talk
got,
about
Dad?
Matt Hardy
You
version one.
gotta give us
you
stuff,
guys
man.
are on?
This is content.
Go.
Yeah.
Maxwell, you want to say anything too? Just get. You're getting out of here.
Hey, I got a couple jokes.
All right, let's hear the jokes, then we'll wrap up.
All right. What is a cheese that's not yours?
Nacho cheese.
How'd you know?
What's your next one?
All right. Why could the pirate not be in a child's movie?
Why?
Because it was rated R.
Ah, there you go. That's a good one. Give me one more.
I can't think of any others.
You don't even got another one.
Hi.
Hello, Evie.
Ready? Body. No, we do not
got
need bodies.
Marty.
No bodies. We need
We
more.
got everyone.
No
How about
bodies.
this? We're gonna wrap up here, guys. Okay.
Right.
So the one thing that Dada does every single week is he leaves everyone with a big delete. Okay. What I say is the words are about to be spoken. We'll see you next time on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, and then he says delete. So when I say we'll see you next time on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, you go delete. Okay. Are you ready? Here we go. Ready? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna go.
Say it.
Here we go. Ready?
What do we says?
The words have been spoken. We'll see you next week right here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Go.
Delete.
Delete. Delete. Delete. Delete. Delete. Delete. Delete. Delete. Delete.
My skin's dying because you're under it. I'm done lying to myself for this. For all the wondering, believing that it's making me weak. I'll fade away and classify myself as obsolete. My skin's dying. I'm done lying.
As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $500, $600, $700, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out, no house payments for 2 months. At SaveWithConrad.com, NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.